For all of us, the Northumberland-Peterborough South Federal Liberal Association. And we got that name because we were the Northumberland Pine Ridge Federal Liberal Association, but the Conservatives, in their wisdom, decided to change it on the last minute. They didn't tell us about it either. Anyway, my job is simply to say welcome, great to see everyone, and to introduce tonight's Master of Ceremonies, the Honorable Paul Brown.
Thank you very much, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here and to have this opportunity. The music tonight is being provided by some high school students. They're not all here right now, so I will thank them a little later, but Julie Barrett, Daly Pressman, Laura Curtin, and Magnus Ginn are here with us tonight. And for those that are still with us up here, let's give them a round of applause for what they've done tonight. Now, I guess you've all seated, we're almost all seated, so I would like to take this opportunity, although there'll be a much more formal introduction later, I want to at least acknowledge our special guest tonight, Honorable Carolyn Bennett, MP for the St. Paul's riding. Carolyn and I do go back a bit of the way. And so it's wonderful to see you with us tonight, Carolyn. I noticed tonight that we just finished a municipal election, and at the risk of missing someone, and I'm sure you'll remind me, but I do see that the Deputy Mayor of Coburg, John Henderson, is with us. John? And I hate to say it, but an old faithful, Forrest Rowden is councillor. Congratulations to both of you. Oh, now, I saved the best for last. I wanted to make sure that we recognize a person who has just received his mandate letter and has expressed an interest in changing, I think, the Municipal Act and also doing a few more good things dealing with, I think, the moraine and the green belt. I think it's very appropriate that we give a warm welcome to our MVP, Lou Rinaldi. Now, of course, we're all interested in dinner, and we're going to have that served very shortly. But first of all, I should give a little bit of an apology. It was advertised that Michael McNamara, the individual who was very popular on YouTube and became a sensation, is unfortunately unable to be here because of illness. So we do apologize for that. We Liberals are not in the business of making false advertising. We stand for what we stand for. Now, as you have already noticed, there are silent auction tables at the back, and we'd like you to circulate and help fill out those bid sheets. It's very important. As you know, we're all here to have a good time. We're here to meet each other and enjoy each other's company. We're here to listen to Carolyn Bennett give us an inspiring speech. I'm going to anticipate that, and because she normally does. And I would hope that in this process, you will get there and put those bids in, because we do have to raise money. We've got an election coming up next year. And I don't think there's any doubt about it. We need the usual cash to make it work. So everything you can help us with tonight will be very much appreciated. Tonight, we want to acknowledge, as I say, a number of people, but in particular, we want to reflect back on an election that was held in June of this year. And in that election, we were all absolutely thrilled to see the return of what I would call the finest, shall we say, shorter man that this county has ever seen in politics. He has managed to bring back more money and more support and to lend advice to the Premier's ear in a way that has been so important to us and to our broader province. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to listen for a moment as we hear from our MPP, Lou Rinaldi.
Well, thanks, Paul, and it's good to be here. Can anybody hear me? Because I know you can't see me because of the podium, so. But as long as you can hear me, it's a good thing.
I thought your school.
No, well, where is it? Oh, it's over here. I might fall off it. Well, I'm so delighted to be here tonight for a number of reasons. Number one is that Liberals are alive and well. I guess I got better used to Northumberland and South Peterborough. Did I say that right? Yeah. What is it? Peterborough South. Okay, so we'll get used to it. It's good to see a number of you. Well, thank you. Can you move the podium now? No, that's okay. I need something to hold me up. So, it's good to see the number of people here tonight. We are going to have an election. Soon, federally. How soon we don't know, but we know by the fall it's going to be here. Before I get there though, by the way, somebody told me I had about 4 hours to speak, but I forgot my big binder, so wrong. No, I just want to take a minute, and I know that I said this to a number of you in the last 2 or 3 months. You have no idea how much I appreciate the work that a number of you did to get me elected again. It was just overwhelming. I gotta tell you a story, just a quick story. We were in Port Hope. Where's Ellen? Right there. And Kathy Cox, where's Kathy? She's here somewhere. Back there. I show up to campaign in Port Hope one day, and I was gonna have 4 or 5 folks to walk with me, right? Normal stuff. So I get there and there's 12. So we go, I'm not sure what street it was, but it was right behind the police station in Port Hope. And police got a bit suspicious when they see 12 people walking down the street in the middle of the day. And Al, I think he went around a couple of times. And then the third time I went over to the car because he slowed right down. I go, it's only me, we're campaigning. Well, I thought so, but we were just checking. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that 12 people that give up their time for the cause. And that repeated itself right across the riding. And it was, for me, that was just overwhelming. That's what gives me, and I know give Kim the energy to do when the campaign comes. So to all of you, it's, for me, I can just say it's been an enormous pleasure to be back at Queen's Park. The Premier about a month ago, we were chatting in the members gallery. He says, Lou, so how does it feel to be back? And I said, Premier, actually I'm confused. She looks at me and says, why would you be confused? Well, I feel like I never left. 1 minute. The next minute I'm a newbie because I'm sitting with a bunch of newbies. And that's okay. I'm sitting there. That's what counts. So I go, the best way I can describe it, I guess I'm recycled and it's good to be here. So it's been a total joy. But enough of me. I guess I just want to say that, as I mentioned a minute ago, we do have a federal election coming. So here's my dilemma right now. It was a dilemma for about 6 years when Paul left politics, after he left politics, that we really have nobody that gives a damn about Northumberland or this riding, and doesn't give a darn, I guess, I shouldn't use damn, I guess, but I can say darn, that really cares about sticking up for Ontario in the big hill in Ottawa. Frankly, that's been missing for a number of years. And some of you might know if you're from the East End. I don't know, I have no idea how a member could represent this riding, go to Ottawa, and not advocate to build a 2-lane bridge. They're going to take a 2-lane bridge and turn it into a 1-lane bridge because that's better. The 2-lane bridge was built some 70, 80 years ago, and I think we made some progress between then and now. I'm not sure we had horse and buggy back then. We walked. Now we have cars, we have transport trucks. So they want to turn a 2-lane bridge into a 1-lane bridge. That's going to be there for the next 50, 60 years. And the guy says, well, take it or leave it. You know, so that's the type of people that we have representing. But you know, I'm not surprised because the leadership that we have now is just as bad. So, we think there's going to be election. Well, we know there's going to be election at least by the fall. There might be one sooner. I'm not sure when. I'm not going to gamble on it. So I would say to the people that walked the great sidewalks and the country roads with me, we need you on whenever that date is to be out there and help him. You know, it's not just because I like him, it's just for the reasons I just said a minute ago, along with liking Kim. Kim has never stopped working, and I think she needs to be rewarded. And I know that if she gets to Ottawa, and I'm still at Queen's Park, which I hope to be for at least another 3.5 years, I can have somebody to call and get, you know, we can work together, because it really hasn't happened for the last number of years. And, you know, the people that lose out are the people of this great writing. So, one last comment, and then I'm going to stop. Next week's the Remembrance Day. And you know, we live in the best community, in the best province, in the best country in the world. I'm an immigrant, you know, and I'm so proud that this country adopted me that it's phenomenal. But we are who we are because of the people that sacrificed their lives to make us who we are today, to give us what we have. And you know, as we go by our everyday lives, we forget that. And I think every day we should take a part of that day and make it Remembrance Day. Because you know, what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, it's heart-wrenching. So, next Tuesday, I think it is, let's just take a moment and reflect to give this great country of ours, you know, what it deserves, our support, and for us to appreciate what we have. So, if nothing else, let's appreciate what we really have, because there's places around the world that could only wish to have one little piece of what we have, and we take that for granted every day. So, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I mean, I wouldn't miss it, but but one of the things I want to ask you to do the next time we get together and get like this, say next year at this time, when we have one of these, what do we call them, red leaf dinners or whatever, that I want to be able to sit. We have a table where a Liberal MPP and a Liberal MP can sit together. So, get to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lou. It's all right. Just waiting. Don't want you to miss a word. Anyway, tonight is also very special because we're going to have a chance to hear from our candidate-elect. And this week, I think she was on Drive Time with Dave on 89.7, I think it was. Yes, I think so. And you know, when she'd finished, my wife came to me and said, you know, she is really amazing. What a performance that she put on. And you know, it's true. You know, Kim has worked so hard to improve and to build the good lines of communication with Ottawa, to work to try to better our relationship. I think that, you know, someone who has worked as hard as she has, if there was nothing else out there that you wanted to use as a reason for voting for Kim, she has literally worked her, you know what, off. And I would say that, Kim, you are going to stand an excellent chance of becoming the first MP for the riding of Peterborough South and Northumberland. I was put up to that by the Peterborough group, but anyway, it's the Northumberland-Peterborough South federal Liberal riding. And we're going to get it sometime that we will actually be able to say it without getting fumbled and muddled. Anyway, Kim, I want you to come up and introduce our guest speaker, if you would, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Paul. I just said it's hard. We've had 3 name changes in the past few months, so we just have to keep trying to get our heads around. I've been told we won't change again. Not sure I believe them. Anyways, I just want to say, before I start my remarks, a huge thank you to Lou Rinaldi. Thank you, Lou. I so much appreciate working with you now. Lou has been a great supporter of mine and allows me to fill in for him from time to time when he can make events, and it's a great honor to do that. It's also a great opportunity for me to do that, and I very much appreciate it. Lou has given me the opportunity often and again this Remembrance Day to lay a wreath for him, and this year I'm in Grafton, and such a fabulous community in our riding. The cenotaph is a very special place at this time of year, and not only to honor our soldiers, our men and women in uniform, but also to reflect on the fact that because of them, we have a democracy in this country that many people around this world are dying and fighting for, and they do not, as Lou said, have the opportunity to have the same rights and freedoms we do. So it's a great honor for me to do that, and I'm thrilled that Lou has given me that opportunity. I am going to introduce our guest speaker, and before I do that, I want to say thank you. Thank you to every one of you in this room who have come to this event, who have, over the past number of years, months, days, weeks, done whatever you could to make sure that we're strong in this riding. And by strong, I don't just mean your generosity coming here and buying a ticket and helping us raise money and bid on all the fabulous silent auction items, but I mean strength of community. What will help make us a formidable force in the next election is our community, is our liberal values, our liberal strength, and our conviction in terms of what we believe and what we want to see this riding and this country become. I think we can all argue that in the last, not argue, I think we can all agree that in the last 6 years or so, this country has taken a turn, 6 to 8 years, the country has taken a turn to a place that we're not happy with. I think we've become very divisive as a country. I think our reputation on the world stage has suffered greatly. And I think just in our community, a reflection in our own community, is that we have our friends and neighbors suffering. We've lost jobs, we've lost community resources, we've lost so many things that help make the fabric of this community. And my job, along with Lou's, my job, if I'm fortunate enough to be your member of Parliament, is to help bring that back. And I will commit myself, as I've done over the past number of years, to making sure that happens. One of the other things that I've been very fortunate to be able to do is to represent you in Ottawa. When I was there Monday, I ran into Rick Norlock. Yes. And he looks at me and says, "What are you doing here?" And I'm saying, "Well, I'm working." I don't think he gets my sense of humor, but that's okay. I was there Monday to sit on a round table with childcare experts from around the country to talk about what childcare policy in this country and what a childcare framework should look like. And for those of you who've known me for a very long time, I started the first not-for-profit, well, one of the first not-for-profit childcare organizations in this county, and next year it will have its 30th anniversary, and I'm very proud of that. Was I'm sitting around a table with people I worked with 20 years ago and 10 years ago when we, along with Ken Dryden, helped create the child care plan under the Colonial Accord that, as we all know, when the NDP toppled the government, and the rest is history, and Mr. Harper killed the child care plan. We were still talking about a lot of the same things, but we recognized we're 10 years out and things are different. It's a testament, I believe, to our leader, Justin Trudeau, that he has sent his candidates, his MPs out to talk to people around the country about how we make it better, how we create good policy, how that good policy will inform our platform. And that's what we were doing. And Carolyn Bennett, Dr. Carolyn Bennett, the Honorable Carolyn Bennett, who is Chair of Women's Caucus, and I am a member of the Shadow Women's Caucus, thanks to Carolyn, has been a huge supporter and one of the driving forces behind women candidates for the Liberal Party. In fact, every Thursday, Carolyn hosts a conference call for female candidates, whether you're a nomination candidate, whether you think you want to be a nomination candidate, or whether you're a candidate. And the calls range from 20 people to 70 people. And we have great guest speakers. Scott Bryson was on today talking about income splitting, which is, of course, a favorite topic of mine right now. And Carolyn has been a mentor to so many of us and opened so many doors. And for that, I am forever grateful. It has just made such a difference in my ability to do what I can for this riding in Ottawa. So thank you very much, Carolyn. I very much appreciate it. The other thing that's happened that has also been a great experience is I've had the support of so many of the MPs in our party. And Lou was talking about the bridge in Brighton over the Murray Canal, and John McKay took that on and helped me get a conference call and a letter and brought it up on brought up to committee and pushed the issue forward. The same with an issue in Port Hope around the REM. John was able to help us get a local expert in to sit at committee and actually give testimony a few weeks ago. Carolyn, similarly, today, Carolyn and I had an exciting day. We first went out to Alderville with Chief Jim Marsden and got a first-hand look at the 40-acre, 24,000 panel solar farm that is out there. I have to tell you, if you haven't taken a drive by the old Howard Shepherd farm, for those of you who remember that far back, it is amazing. And another just comment about the chief, he is, and his band, is up for a Canadian Bluegrass Award, and November 20th or 21st, he'll know whether he's successful. So we have our very own, very talented bluegrass artist. And Carolyn and I then went up to Hiawatha to talk to Chief Cowley about some of the issues they're having around water issues, and then we were with Linda Jansen at Cornerstone at the women's shelter. So it was a very full day. And talked to Linda about transitional housing and a housing strategy. And all those things are so important to us as we move forward as Liberals when we're looking at our platform and policy. Those are the kinds of things Liberal MPs have done to support us in what we're doing as candidates out in the ridings. And I am eternally grateful to Carolyn Bennett for her work on that. Thank you, Carolyn. So, without any further ado, I am not going to tell you all Carolyn's accomplishments because I do not believe for one second there is not one person in this room who doesn't know them. Carolyn has been a minister, she has been chair of Women's Caucus, she is a family doctor, we were talking about delivering babies earlier, her expertise, not mine, and just the breadth of experience that this woman has had, including being our critic for Aboriginal Affairs, and no one has taken this file and moved it forward and worked as hard on it, I will say, as Carolyn Bennett. So please join me in welcoming the Honourable Carolyn Bennett.
Thank you so much, Kim, and I echo what Kim said. And thanks to every single one of you for being here tonight. It is, we always think that, the full room is a really good thing, but I think seeing Norm Richards' truck as I came in with that fabulous Kimrod cube on the back really sort of set the tone for the evening. And thank you so much, Paul and Joan, and for what you continue to do in terms of the leadership in this riding. It's amazing. Thank you, Lou, for again everything you do and the example you set, but also your really important words about Remembrance Day. I think it means so much to all of us in terms of what just happened on the Hill, that it's only not about remembering, but it is about honoring the people who stand on guard for us every day as we speak. And, you know, it's a time when I think about my dad and my father-in-law and all of the history, but this has, I think these last weeks have brought it all together is what it means. As we honor being here on the territory of the Mississaugas of Arborville, I want to thank Chief Jim Bob for being here. There's a few things that, I mean, it was a fabulous day, and you know, I go into a lot of ridings, and some of the big moments are when you arrive with somebody who knows their riding, knows what to do, knows how I can be most helpful, and just get stuff done. And that's really why we're here tonight, as everybody said. We're celebrating the MP in waiting, who is already acting like the MP for the riding, and who actually understands that as Lou said, you know, take it or leave it is not the job of an MP, and that what Justin's been really clear about is that MPs have to have the ability to fight for their ridings and to speak for their ridings. Their job is not to be an apologist of taking some message back from Ottawa about why this can't be done or won't be done, or you've got to sell why whatever this riding needs isn't going to happen. And I think that this is an extraordinarily exciting time when you have the energy and the passion and the knowledge of somebody like Kim Rudd to be able to show exactly what it is to be an MP. And I have to say that it seems even more exciting now to see that without an incumbent and with a sort of the unusual choice that the Conservatives have made, that this feels very good as I go into unheld ridings, soon to be held ridings, that will be painting the town red. So thank you very, very much for all you do every day. As part of my job and my passion, which is idle canoe more, it is about all of us to understand, as the 96% of us not from an Indigenous background, to understand the job ahead. If we're going to get back to the original deal, which was to share this land fairly. And I think that when you've got somebody as welcoming as Chief Jim Bob here, and again Chief Cowie that will be in the new riding, that there is an openness and a welcoming about how we develop the new partnership that Paul Martin's been talking about as we go forward. So in the bold vision for Canada, I think that we have to say that most Liberals, and now most Canadians get it, that there's been something not quite right in the fastest growing demographic in this country that seems to continue to be left behind, except for some of the success stories that happen to be in your riding. Other places, not so much. But I just wanted to share with you tonight, before we get on to the crass politics, that my 3 years and a half of being the critic for Aboriginal Affairs, and when Bob Ray asked me which job I wanted, I can't tell you how surprised he was that I asked for Aboriginal Affairs, because we knew that's where we needed to do, I felt we needed to do the most work, where there actually needed to be a movement from where we've been at Kelowna Accord, but in building genuine, authentic relationships that would allow First Nations, Inuit, and Métis to lead again in the ways that the wise ways that they were leading when the settlers arrived and we needed their help. So I'm just going to explain, there's the 7 grandfathers' teachings, But I'm not going to talk to you about that. I'm going to tell you about my 7 aha moments in what I've learned in my time in this job. I thought I knew a little bit as a family doctor with some Indigenous patients. I thought I knew a little bit more as Minister of State for Public Health and the work that needed to be done on social determinants. But since I have had this specific job, my main prescription for Canada is you need new friends. Everybody needs a Jim Bob as a friend. Everybody needs to know First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, because we're never going to get to nation, government to government, unless we have real friends that we know and trust who will work out this partnership together. So my first aha moment, I think, was Jim Jordan a long time ago when he talked about 7-generation thinking, about how we are only going to save the planet if we can actually think 7 generations out and think about our grandkids. The First Nations didn't have to be told not to fish out of a lake or clear cut a forest. They actually knew they had to keep Mother Earth safe for the generations to follow. For all of my time as a family doctor, we understood that Tommy Douglas was right in terms of keeping people well, not just patching them up when they get sick. So when you think of the medicine wheel instead of the medical model, that it really was about keeping people as well as they could be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and that was going to have to be a preferred way of going forward in a good way than running a repair shop, which actually isn't sustainable. When you think of how the pedagogy that we talked a lot about today, both at Aberville as well as Hiawatha, how we understand that learning by doing is the way that all of us learn. That when somebody decided to put kids in little tiny rows and try and stuff information at the top of their heads, we're finally figuring out that that's not the way you learn. You learn physics by standing in a stream and getting almost knocked over, or by trying to get your canoe to go forward in a wind. That's how you learn physics, not by little arrows on a piece of paper in a classroom. And so that again, learning by doing was what First Nations did, and that's how we are going to go forward. I think if we're gonna, all of us, end up with better education, I think, for all of us. First Nations chiefs always knew they had to put the kids first, and that came right after Mother Earth. And I think if we make policies that are good for kids, as Michael Mackenzie's sister taught me, Landon Pearson, that for the sake of the children, we actually have to go forward, and that you have to put that lens on every decision you take. And you can't blame the parents or blame the community or blame anybody. You've got to keep those kids in mind. One of my favorites, and I think talking to Michael Mackenzie tonight reminded me why I'm really coming to like this idea of elders instead of elderly. I think that this is a very good thing, that we would listen to the wise and wonderful and not actually decide that somehow that the wisdom, and in my case is having made all the mistakes and learned from them, but that you actually understand that survivors and the people who contributed really still have lots to learn. And I had a blast speaking 2 weeks ago at the Gender and Longevity Conference in Brazil, and I happen to think longevity is a more exciting phrase than the gray tsunami or all of the nonsense that we're hearing now. I've always thought that listening to wise women seemed like a good idea too, which seems to be a First Nations way, and so that was my 6th. And then the 7th is really about why we're here tonight as Liberals. The idea of leadership being asking, not telling. That giving respect to the citizens and the people in the community to know what's needed and what's not needed is really the First Nations way of leading. And frankly, to me, it's Justin Trudeau's way of leading. It is an exciting thing to watch a real leader, not a boss. It is what we will have to go out, each one of you deputized, to understand that, as Bob Ray used to say, if you want to be told what to say and when to say it, there's 2 other parties you can join. And that the idea of the paternalism of top-down micromanaging a boss, as opposed to a leader who will actually listen to what's needed, who respects expertise and respects those with lived experience. That's what leadership is to me. And that's why it is so exciting being part of Justice team. It is a really important feeling, I think, for all of us in caucus and for, I think, the soon-to-be caucus members to realize that what you've done in your life and the people you know and the people that you trust are become part of the information with which we will make good public policy. My hero, Jane Jacobs, used to say that good public policy comes when the decision makers can see in their mind's eye the people affected. That we actually have to know who we're dealing with. And I've had a blast all summer explaining that imagine writing a law about prostitution without speaking to the prostitutes. Like it's, you know, if you actually think you're going to write a law that will dissuade people from coming into the trade and help them get out of the trade, how you can write that policy without talking to them is just beyond me. And I think that in almost every piece of public policy, that we have an ability as liberals to go and find the people who know something, like we did today at the women's shelter, like we did by visiting First Nations. That's the way we work, and it will be bottom up and not top down. As liberals, sometimes we have to accept that sometimes it looks a bit messy from the outside. When you actually are allowed to debate ideas and weigh things in different ways and not actually just lean back and rest on an ideology of the left or the right. In the middle, we have to take our time to weigh the evidence and to look at international examples and be able to say, this might work, this, a little left on this, a little right on that. We have to actually make decisions one by one, but based on evidence and based on what's really good, the public good for all Canadians. And so it makes me, I think a lot of us feel that it's never been a good time to be a liberal. It's always, there's never been a better time. But what we're seeing politically is the squirming that just happened in this riding between the progressive conservatives and the Tea Party Republicans, and that a lot of people have some discomfort with. And I think we saw the provincial election, Lou, and I think that we have seen it in the recent by-elections. And so even these ridings that people think are traditionally whatever, a little more conservative or a little more this, that what we've seen in the by-elections is the first time in my whole career that identified conservatives stayed home. So some of them might not yet be able to vote for us, but they're not about to go and vote for stuff that just doesn't seem right to them. And this is a very big deal because the whole Republican camp is based on voter suppression. About this idea, all government's bad, all politicians bad, pox in all their houses, doesn't even matter if you vote, they're all just as bad, and then compound it with negative advertising. The purpose of that is to drive up the cynicism and down the voter turnout. Traditionally, when you do that, the people who don't vote are the youth, the women, Indigenous, tenants, some new Canadians, all these people that can get turned off about this thing called politics. What's exciting now is to see that these people have now managed to even turn off their base. That there are bits of the base, the progressive side of the base, that just have had enough. And so we have this huge opportunity. If we actually understand what's going on and tap into that feeling of discomfort of the people who really are progressive conservatives. Where were we? We were talking about Jennifer Pollock in Calgary, who used to, at the door, just amuse me no end when someone would say they were conservative. And she'd say, but you look like a progressive conservative. I used to be a progressive conservative until I figured out they're not progressive and they don't conserve. And I think that this is a message that resonates in many, many parts of Canada now. That this is not Bill Davis, it's not Joe Clark, this is not anybody that we really feel comfortable with in that survival of the fittest, take it or leave it. You know, we have always believed, I think, as Canadian values about being able to look after one another. So I just want to say that this is an exciting time. A bunch of, as Kim said, the caucus members will come as often until you're tired of seeing us, because we are committed to get Kim Rudd elected as a member of Parliament, have her sit in the House of Commons and be the huge member of Team Trudeau, and just selfishly a member of the Women's Caucus. So thank you very much.
See, another convert to my fan club. It's fantastic. Just before I thank Carolyn, I just want to say very boldly, I think Paul said it, alluded to it, maybe even said it. We do have an election. It could be next month.
Bring it on.
It could be this spring, which is very likely, before the Duffy trial, as we all know. And if Harper actually kept his fixed election date, which of course we know he hasn't ever, it would be October. I am going to ask you from the bottom of my heart to do whatever you can to help me, whether it's knocking on doors, I'd say stuffing envelopes, but we kind of don't do that anymore. Making phone calls, inviting your friends and neighbors in for a cup of coffee and saying, Kim, come meet them. Holding a wine and cheese at your house and saying, okay, if you want to meet Kim, it might cost you $100. Or whatever number you feel is appropriate. I'm open to other numbers. And contribute in whatever way you can to making sure that we bring this riding back into the Liberal fold in 2015. On something, Justin, how many of you were at the convention in February in Montreal? Justin Trudeau said something in his speech. Many of you may have watched it online. And he said something that I think is very true. He said, we have to remember, Conservatives and NDPs are not our enemies. They're our friends and they're our neighbors. They're just slightly misguided. So our job is to guide them into voting Liberal. That's your job, my job. I'm going to thank Carolyn Bennett for her continued support, her enthusiasm, for getting on the train in Ottawa at 8 o'clock this morning, and I picked her up at the train station. We really did not actually take a breath until I think about 5:30 tonight, and then came here. So she's just such a support and such a hard worker for us, and such an important part of Team Trudeau, that I'm honored she came. And we have a little gift, and you might guess it's from our riding. Yes. Oh, the flashy bag. Oh, and imagine, the bag's even red. It is from Hosselton Studios, one of our local artists, and we all know we're very proud of having them there in Colborne, and just a very small token of our appreciation. And yes, Carolyn, we want to have you back very soon. Thank you so much.
I'm hoping for maple syrup.
I only get given that when I'm about to get on the plane.
You always have a great grasp, Carolyn, of the issues. And I even enjoyed it when I was at Women's Caucus. You know, I used to go to Women's Caucus on a regular basis, and I think I was the only man there for a number of years until Erwin Kotler came along. You know,
Caucus that didn't leave.
it wasn't a leaky caucus, she says. No, it's been wonderful working with Carolyn, and we had a lot of good times. And I know that it's been not easy for members while they've been in opposition. It's been very difficult, very, very troubling. And more difficult when you're in opposition to try to help people within your own riding, because as you know, the mentality of the existing government has not been really to help you get the job done. It's really been to put it to you. So that's not been a very helpful thing for the rest of us in our various communities, and particularly for those MPs who work so hard. Now, while I'm just concluding, you want to run down there and throw some bids in, that's fine, but I won't feel upset, but I want to say that, as was mentioned by Kim, she needs all the support she can get, in particular financial, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little hat passing here. We've got some large red hats, and we're going to pass them around. You can give up to $20 in cash if you want to write out a check to the, we'll call it this time the Northumberland-Peterborough South Federal Liberal Association, or NPS. I think they'll likely get it done. We'd be more than happy to receive those checks. If you've written the checks, you're going to get obviously receipted money, so you're going to be able to use that for your tax purposes. We need as much as we can. Right now we're looking for money, obviously, to start by setting up and protecting sites where we can get good campaign offices and get them ready. So I would like you to do that. You're going to come around with red hats. Please come around right now. We'll all carry on while you run around, and if you can throw a few dollars in, we'd really appreciate it. There also is, as you came in, there's a table there called the Victory Fund. And the Victory Fund is one where we have a sharing arrangement with the federal party and with our local party in terms of its riding association or electoral district association. And we would very much like to have you join that. And as an incentive, Kim is inviting you, and only Victory Club members get this invitation. And Laurier Club. But right now I'm just selling Victory. Okay, we're going for Victory. And there's going to be a party at Kim's on February the 12th. And believe me, when Kim puts up a party, she puts up a party. It's going to be a great one, and we'd like everyone to attend if you possibly can. And all you need is a Victory Fund membership, and that'll get you going. So, while they're running around with hats, let me say there have been a lot of thank yous for everyone coming out tonight. I want to particularly thank Sharon McMahon, who has diligently worked on the silent auction. Where are you, Sharon? Somewhere? Oh, you're at the back looking after things. Thank you. I want to thank Roger Tessier of West Western, who has worked so hard to make sure that we had an excellent event. The flowers on your table are from Blake Holden. So when you're thinking of flowers, think of Blake Holden Flowers in Port Hope. Again, I did thank the students from the high school who provided music this evening. It was absolutely wonderful. And again, we want to thank everyone who donated to our silent auction, as well as those of you who are bidding on the silent auction. The riding fundraising team and all the group that has put this evening together, we certainly thank you so much, because it does take so many hands to make the whole system work. And we're so pleased, number one, that you're here and that you helped us out and that you're ready to volunteer and go forward. Now, I think I said 8:45. I'm just going to say I've got 4 minutes, and I'm closing off the tables at 9 o'clock because the Leafs start to play at 10 after 9. Oh, who cares? I think there are some Leaf fans here. So we'll give you 4 minutes, and we're going to close off the tables.
Thank you. I stole the microphone again. Wait a second. I just want to say a great big thank you to Paul Macklin. Paul has always stepped up, and Joan, always stepped up to help. Paul has been a great mentor and a great support to me, and I think he just does a fabulous job as our previous MP.
Thank you. I'd like to run again. No.
Fabulous job as our MC, and I'd like to give him a round of applause. And a big thank you to, Paul just mentioned the teams. We have fundraising teams, we have campaign teams, we have social media teams, we have, where's Deborah? Communications teams. We have amazing teams. And if you'd like to come join the team, we'd love to have you. Thanks.